And another key Republican on Capitol Hill is House Intelligence Committee Chairman Mike Rogers. Congressman, good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
So we have heard this morning, this breaking news, that now 4 towns have fallen in just 2 days to ISIS. How troublesome is this?
Well, it's incredibly troublesome. So you see an interesting trend. You have the al-Qaeda-minded ISIS group joined by former Saddam soldiers and leaders and enfranchised Sunni tribal leaders. That's the combination that has allowed them to be so successful. And it is troubling because they have safe haven both in eastern Syria, where they pooled up for months and really years to get ready for this before they launched this attack, and now they're holding large swaths of land that give them that opportunity for safe haven to continue to recruit, to continue to finance, and those things.
You heard Senator Rubio talk about cutting off those supply lines, but one of the cities that they seized, Al-Qaim, is right there on the border, and they now control most of the Iraq-Syria border, which means the supply lines are open.
And again, we saw this happening. That was what was so frustrating. We watched them pool in eastern Syria in a way we have never seen before. Thousands and thousands of al-Qaeda affiliated individuals. Now, there has been some scrapping between al-Nusra and the ISIS, or ISIL, the Levant, meaning they want to have everything from Lebanon, Jordan, Iraq, and Syria, by the way, which is important to understand. So we saw that happening. They're using that as a base of operations, but now they don't need all the logistics to come from Syria. They also have opportunities to do that around Iraq, and that's what makes them so dangerous.
Secretary of State John Kerry has just landed in Egypt. His next stop is Jordan. What's his goal on this trip? What must he do?
Well, we've got to reestablish our relationship with our Arab League partners. It's as damaged as I've ever seen it. No decision is a decision, and they've watched what's happened in Syria and been talking to us and the U.S. government for months and months about, please help us do something effective in Syria, or we're going to have a much bigger problem.
But he's meeting with the leaders of Jordan and the UAE and Saudi Arabia, Sunni-led governments that can be perhaps influential. Do they have any influence over ISIS?
Well, remember, ISIS is as much a threat to their governments as it is to the Shia-led Maliki government. That's why they have been calling. And remember, the decision not to be more robust in Syria seemed, it was easy to do because I don't think people understood the sheer size and pooling of the al-Qaeda elements in the east. So when we walked away from that, they are very frustrated with us. Our Arab League partners are as frustrated and nervous about what happens next. Remember, not making a decision to deal with them earlier has got us a bigger problem. They now hold land about the size of Indiana. And so we can re-engage them to help us in both eastern Syria and Iraq. And I think they can do both.
You're a chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. I want to get your reaction to what the president said to me when I asked him about how big of a threat is ISIS to America's national security. He said it's a medium and long-term threat, and that we can't just play whack-a-mole with all these different terrorist groups that are popping up.
Well, listen, unfortunately, it's easy to try to diminish the threat. What we know happens, as we watched happen in Afghanistan, they build safe haven, they train, they recruit, they plan operations that led to 9/11, the killing of 3,000 Americans. They have already expressed, this is what got them in trouble with Zawahiri, the leader of al-Qaeda and the replacement for Osama bin Laden, is not only were they brutal, but they were talking about taking people with Western passports and sending them back home for terrorist operations from eastern Syria. That's what got Zawahiri all worked up over this group. And they weren't taking direction very well from Zawahiri. Not that their goals were any different. So here you have a group, now think of this, $1 billion in cash and bullion, well-armed, well-financed. They have lots of free space in which to operate, train, and we know that they have intentions to send people who have shown up with Western passports back to the United States and back to Europe. That is as dangerous as it gets. Now, is it 6 months, 3 months, or a year? We're not sure, but I wouldn't wait. And it's not whack-a-mole. This is in our national security interest. Bumper sticker phrases aren't going to win this thing. We've got to be dug in for the long haul because they're dug in for the long haul.
All right, Chairman Rogers, I know you'll be back later.